One of the main reasons people tell me they don't want to leave a position outside of financial security is lack of clarity and confidence around what to do. This feeling can 100% be remedied if you are ready to do the work. There is no quick fix to finding a job or advancing in your career, but being strategic and doing the work will pay off. If you're ready to work, let's go. This is one episode in a 20-episode season designed to provide career foundations for experienced professionals. We are going to give you the tools to find clarity and confidence, help you with your resume, give you simple interview strategies, known job search strategies, negotiation tactics, and more, all with an experienced professional in mind. My name is Julia, and I'm the career strategist behind the Ride the Tide Collective podcast, where we equip ambitious professionals to strategize and take action to advance their career. Hi everyone, this is the final episode of our Recruiter Tips mini-series as part of Season 2. After all the foundational tips and advice I've given you through this season, I wanted to have a few episodes where we focus on tips from others, namely recruiters or talent acquisition professionals. If you want to learn more about the types of recruiters out there, listen to their job search tips or their resume tips, check out episodes 16 and 17 of Season 2. I will link them in the show notes. As we head into some of the interview tips our recruiters have for us, I want to remind you that interviewing is subjective. Everyone has a different lens they interview from and a bias they might not know they have. Knowing this, you need to take the interview process with a grain of salt, meaning don't get attached to a person or a position. You might be a great fit on paper, but a recruiter or hiring manager might not think you're a good fit for the team or leadership. Before I share the tips from our recruiters, I wanted to share a few tips that I have from my time when I was a hiring manager. When you get to the interview stage, especially if it's with the hiring manager, you know in advance who the hiring manager is. Do your research. If you ask me questions that make it obvious that you didn't look me up on LinkedIn, makes me question your ability to prepare, which then makes me question how you would be in a situation where you needed to prepare for a big presentation or writing a report. Yes, these are conclusions that some hiring managers will draw from your interview experience. Again, not everyone will go there, but they might. Be prepared. If you are a smoker, be mindful of how you smell. I had an interview with someone who smelled like cigarettes, and it was a huge turnoff for me. Do I care if you smoke? No, I don't care at all. But I need to know that you can show up to work and manage the smell of smoke on your clothes during breaks because some people are very sensitive to those smells. The same goes for someone who overuses body spray, cologne, or perfume. These might seem like insignificant things to you, or you might relate to what I'm saying, but my point in sharing these instances is that it impacts my view of you as a candidate. If someone interviewed you who is a smoker, the smell might not bother them and they might not care. Again, subjective. In my LinkedIn example, I actually ended up hiring the candidate who didn't do their research on me because they were an insanely good candidate, and that was their only faux pas in the entire process. Again, these are small things that make a huge difference, and you don't want somebody to dismiss you for something that was within your control. As a healthcare recruiter for a temporary staffing agency, Eric Mason provided quite a few useful tips on the interview process. He had this to say: your resume gets you the interview. From there, show your personality in the interview. You want to showcase how you would interact with coworkers. Do your research on the companies and, if possible, those interviewing you. Your goal is to show how you would fit into both the office role and the work environment. In a professional manner, do not be afraid to touch on who you are outside of work. This can often be more memorable than professional accomplishments. What I love about Eric's advice is that he reminds you to showcase how you would interact with coworkers. Most often, people feel the need to become another person when they interview. But that's not a good idea because the interviewer is using their time with you to determine if you would be a good fit for their team. Feeling comfortable in an interview is usually correlated to how confident and prepared you feel. Similar to my advice, Eric advises to do your research on the company and those interviewing you if you know. This level of knowledge will help you feel more relaxed during the interview. I also appreciate how he encourages you to discuss who you are outside of work. While you are not legally obligated to disclose any information about your family or health, when you can share information that makes you stand out, it's helpful. For example, if you run marathons, have an interesting hobby, or have done something memorable in your life, these are great bits of information to include. I was advising a student way back when, and I found out that they were a junior Olympian. I told them to always talk about this experience, even when they are older, because it is so unique and says a lot about who they are as a person. This might not be something that they put on a resume, but it's definitely something that I would encourage them to talk about in an interview if it comes up. To be able to train at that level at a young age gives someone insight into your work ethic. These types of experiences definitely stand out and make you and your story unique. Our next bit of advice comes from Alice Liu, a talent acquisition professional for Esri, a computer software and tech company. Alice had this to say about virtual interviews. Now that most interviews are conducted virtually, don't forget to still observe interview etiquette. For virtual video interviews, dress like you would to an in-person interview. Ask or find out what appropriate interview attire for the company is. Make eye contact, remembering that this often means looking directly at your phone or computer's camera rather than the person on screen. And finally, send a thank you note either directly to the interviewers or through your HR contact, HR being human resources. Okay, Alice is killing it with tips in this series. I often tell clients to write thank you notes or emails to their interviewers, and I've had some clients push back on me saying that it's an outdated practice and no one has time to read those notes. But Alice's advice says different, and I agree. A simple thank you note allows you to reiterate something from the interview and show your appreciation for the person taking time out of their day to consider you for a position. If an interview is very close between two people, that thank you note could be the action that gets you the position. You never know. Alice gave a few great tips for virtual interviews, which, as she said, will likely be the norm for a while. You still need to dress for the interview, usually a step up from normal attire. And if you aren't sure, check out their social media pages and see if they have any pictures of their staff and how they dress. That can usually give you an idea of what the normal attire is for the company. And she also reminds you to make eye contact. I would also consider what is behind you in the room and the angle of the camera. I remember watching a virtual interview a few years back, and the person had the camera placed in a way that was not flattering to their face. And while they still did an amazing job in the interview, it was something that took everyone's attention away from them in the beginning. I would highly suggest practicing a virtual interview with a friend to make sure that everything looks and sounds good. Again, a huge thank you to our recruiters for helping me bring more tactical tips to you as you go through the hiring process. We are coming close to the end of season 2 with only 2 episodes remaining. Hit that subscribe button to be notified when new episodes go live and to find out what the season 3 theme will be. Should you have any questions, please connect with Ride the Tide Collective on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook.